Hello there, good evening. You're watching the press preview. It's a first look at what is on the front pages as they arrive. Well, it's time to see what is making the headlines. That's with the Daily Mirror's associate editor, Kevin Maguire, and the Telegraph's deputy comment editor, Annabel Denham. Top of the evening to both of you. They're going to be with us from now until just before midnight. So let's take a look at what is on some of those front pages. Well, the Metro leads with the Duke and Duchess of Sussex's claim that paparazzi in New York pursued them in a 2-hour car chase where collisions were only narrowly avoided. And the Eye pictures Harry and Meghan leaving an event moments before it's understood that that pursuit began. The Telegraph leads with what it describes as the massive cost that obesity is having on the National Health Service. And The Times reports on a £10 billion plan by water and sewage companies to prevent sewage spills, which have been, of course, so much in the news for pretty much all of this year. Here's The Guardian. This is their headline: PM accused of being out of touch over cost of living. But The Express reports that Mr Sunak is planning tax cuts before the next general election. And The Mail suggests that despite previously insisting he wouldn't, Sir Keir Starmer will, in fact, try to renegotiate Brexit if he gets to number 10. And the Financial Times says that German car makers are calling on the European Commission to postpone the implementation of post-Brexit import regulations that they feel would also be bad for business. And The Mirror speaks to a woman who, 25 years on from the death of her mother during treatment at a hospital in Hampshire, is asking police to investigate why so many patients who were prescribed opioids at the facility later died. And The Star tells us, wait for it, this is a headline and a half, that instead of dunking biscuits in our tea, 1 in 10 of us is actually doing it with sausage rolls instead. That is just pretty revolting, isn't it? A reminder that by scanning the QR code that you'll see on screen during the programme, you can check out the front pages of tomorrow's papers while you watch us. Well, as I was saying, tonight we have the pleasure of Kevin Maguire and Annabel Denham, who are here to talk us through all of tomorrow's papers. A very good evening to both of you. Good to see you as ever on Sky News. No surprises, is it really, what's making the front of quite a lot of the papers, and that is the circumstances, which still don't seem to be clear, as to what happened to Harry and Meghan in New York. Annabel, what do you make of all of this story?
Well, I think, the initial response, of course, is going to be one of shock. For those viewers who haven't heard about this story, this is the Duke and Duchess of Sussex saying that they were involved in a near catastrophic car chase. They had just left an awards ceremony in New York. This was the Duchess of Sussex's first appearance since the coronation, which of course she did not attend. And they've said that they, with Doria Ragland, the Duchess of Sussex's mother, was subjected to a 2-hour relentless pursuit by a gang of at least 6 paparazzi. Now, the New York police certainly seem to be taking this seriously. However, some authorities have played down the severity and duration of this incident. I don't think that means we should dismiss it. I think we need to find out more details. And, of course, this will undoubtedly have shaken Prince Harry. It has echoes of what happened, a tragedy that happened to his mother. This is something that he has repeatedly warned of, particularly since meeting the Duchess of Sussex. He did not want history to repeat itself. And here we are looking at front page splashes of an incident that could have been very dangerous indeed, involving paparazzi.
Kevin, what's your take on this? I mean, given the various legal challenges at the moment raised by the Sussexes with the press, particularly the press in the UK, how are the papers here treating this story?
It's noticeable that the 2 papers that lead on it, the Metro and the Eye, not involved in any legal action as far as I'm aware with a couple, both put car chase in inverted commas, which is usually attribution rather than actually adopting itself, because clearly something has happened, and it would have been unpleasant for the Duke and Duchess of Sussex if they are pursued by paparazzi flashing away, trying to get their pictures. They are celebs. They're going to get that attention, but quite what it is, we've yet to see. Now, the couple say it was near catastrophic, and as Annabel says, of course, he lost his mother in 1997 in a car crash when that car, doing 65 miles an hour, the driver was intoxicated, hit a tunnel wall in Paris. She was killed, wasn't wearing a seatbelt. 4 people in it. All 3 who weren't wearing seatbelts died. The one who did, he survived. Of course, he's going to be troubled by being followed, and he's spoken in the past how he sees a flash of a camera or hears the click of the shutter, and it takes him back to then. So he's going to be traumatized, and he's obviously troubled. But quite what happened is I think there to be discussed for those who are interested, because it was noticeable. Yes, the New York police said they were assisting them to get home, and it was challenging, but they say no reported collisions, summonses, injuries or arrests have occurred. And inside the metro, the driver, Sukram Singh, says, yes, they were followed, but he was never scared, and it wasn't like a chase in the movies. While if it's near catastrophic, you would think they're going at high speed round corners, and it's terrifying. But in truth, I don't know.
Yeah, it does appear that recollections may vary, to use that well-known phrase. And given, a lot will come out, won't it? Manhattan is a very, very densely populated city. There's going to be mobile phone footage. Would you expect that this is going to dominate the papers for the next few days?
I think it's a story that'll go inside. I don't think it's going to lead the front. People have made their minds up in one way, whether they're for them or against them. A lot of us are somewhere in the middle, but it'll be picked over, and maybe Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, maybe they have footage themselves from the black SUV they left in. He is said to have taken pictures with his phone. Maybe that'll be released. Yeah. I think people would be interested and like to see it. Look, paparazzi can behave very badly at times, unquestionably, and it seems the Sussexes wanted to keep secret where they were staying and who they were staying with, which is their right. But if you do that and you're a celeb and you're in New York, you're going to get the attention of those photographers who will want to sell those pictures around the world.
Yeah, well, I expect we'll see some more detail coming out over the days to come. Annabel, take us to The Guardian. Rishi Sunak being accused of being out of touch.
Yes, this is a rather buoyant Rishi Sunak on his way to the G7 summit in Japan. And on the cover of The Guardian, he has been accused of being out of touch with ordinary families. He said that people's household incomes were hugely outperforming expectations despite the cost of living crisis. Now, there may be signs that the economy is moving in the right direction, but to millions of people up and down the country, it's going to feel like it's moving at a snail's pace. We are still very much in the midst of a cost of living crisis, and it's strange that the Prime Minister seems to be ignoring that. Inflation at 10.1%, food price inflation at nearly 20%. These are massive increases in costs for ordinary families that are going to hit them very hard in the pocket. Wages, we know from the ONS data that came out yesterday, are not keeping up with inflation, despite the concerns that are on the cover of the FT from the Governor of the Bank of England that we find ourselves in a wage price spiral. That certainly doesn't seem to be borne out in the evidence that I've seen. And I think that there's a real disconnect there, a seeming disconnect there between what we're hearing now from the Prime Minister and perhaps the Chancellor of the Exchequer, and how families up and down the country and how wealthy those families are feeling. Who do the Tories now think that they are Fooling. We have had 13 years of so-called conservative government, and what we have to show for it are high taxes. We're on course to have the highest tax burden in over 7 decades, very high levels of government spending, tattered public services, seemingly no appetite for cutting that government spending or reforming areas like the NHS or welfare or pensions. And I think that British voters are increasingly feeling as though competence simply isn't enough. That was Rishi's pitch to the country when he came in after the chaos of the Truss administration. But it really is past time now for him to pivot and set out what his vision is going to be for the country.